giant sovereign citizen.
There's no injured party in this case. So
there doesn't have to be.
There does. In order to set bond against me, there has to be an injured party. Yeah, and I made that clear to the officer that I was traveling. I wasn't driving. I have that.
Were you in a car?
I have that on film too.
Sir, were you in a car?
Yes, I was. As jurisdiction must be proven on the record before any further proceedings can lawfully continue.
Therefore, Mr. Page, I find you responsible.
This sovereign citizen just went to court and completely embarrassed himself. The judge didn't even bother to argue. She just let him talk and expose his own nonsense about fake laws, no contracts, and traveling instead of driving. It was like watching someone argue with a wall, except the wall was quietly preparing to destroy them. What do you guys think? Should these sovereign citizens even be allowed to stay in the country? I can't decide. Anyway, let's jump in and watch this guy completely crash and burn in court.
All right, we're back on record. Were you two able to have discussions?
We had the discussion, Your Honor, but we're unable to reach a resolution.
Okay, so was an offer made?
Yes.
Okay, can you just tell me what the offer was?
Yes, Your Honor. The people offered to reduce the charge of speeding 11 to 15 over to a double parking.
All right, and Mr. Page, you understand that's a civil infraction, has a fine of $165, but it doesn't have any points on your license.
Right.
Okay, and you've rejected that offer?
I have.
Okay. All right, so we're proceeding with our hearing then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Page, is there something you want to, if you're just going to read me a giant sovereign citizen objection to my jurisdiction, I'll give you 2 minutes to put whatever you want to put on record, and then we're proceeding with the hearing. Fair?
Don't I have the right to be heard lawfully?
Well, you have the right to ask questions to the witness.
Okay.
And to, make any arguments you want to the court.
Right.
But as far as jurisdictional arguments, the court does have jurisdiction.
Okay, is this court operating in administrative or judicial law?
I'm not participating in this, sir.
Well, I would.
Well, this is a court of law.
I would have to know because there's no injured party in this case. So
there doesn't have to be.
There does. In order to set bond against me, there has to be an injured party.
Okay. Anything else? I am operating under the laws of the state of Michigan and the Michigan Constitution. And that's the information that I'm willing to provide. And and I'm certain you're aware of that, sir. You've lived in the United States for your life.
And I'm also aware I have the right to freely travel at my own vehicle.
Correct.
That I maintain and take care of. There was no injured party. I was not engaged in commerce or commercial activity.
Okay, well, they can get tickets too for speeding.
I'm protected under the Constitution. Speed limit's not law. The Constitution says that.
Actually,
the speed limit is statute, code, and ordinance.
Correct. Statute and ordinance, that's correct.
So how could I be charged if we're operating under this type of law and no injured party?
Well, your federal right to travel under the state or the federal Constitution doesn't mean that you're not subject to regulatory. I mean, do we not have to get driver's licenses? Do we not have to get car insurance? Do we not have to follow basic speed laws? I mean, you can have a constitutional right with limits and or regulatory provisions or statutory provisions. The right to drive is not written in the Constitution. The right to travel is.
Yeah, and I made that clear to the officer that I was traveling. I wasn't driving. I have that.
Were you in a car?
I have that on film too.
Sir, were you in a car?
Yes, I was.
All right, you were operating a motor vehicle. And were you in the city of Taylor?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I wasn't operating a motor vehicle though. I was traveling freely down.
Here's the funny part. These sovereign citizens always use the same excuse. I'm not driving, I'm traveling. Dude, you're not hiking through the mountains. You're in a rusty old car going 55 in a school zone. They really believe if they call it traveling, the police will just say, "Oh, sorry, my mistake." But the truth is simple. If you're operating a car on public roads, you are driving, and you do need a license. And honestly, some common sense wouldn't hurt either. It's like going into McDonald's, ordering a burger, and saying you won't pay because you're sharing energy. What do you think this guy's IQ is? I'd rate it somewhere between soggy cereal and spoiled
In a motor vehicle.
That I maintain and take care of myself, that's my property.
Okay. I understand that. That doesn't affect this. I mean, you were driving a car in the city of Taylor. Yes. Okay. And that's why we're here.
Okay.
Okay.
Your Honor, people would waive opening at this time would be prepared to call their first witness when you're ready.
Okay. Call your first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, we call Corporal Billy Schillenberg to the stand.
You solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Okay. Have a seat.
58 miles per hour in a 45 mile per hour zone at 694.5 feet.
Wait, say that again. 58 miles per hour. Now, what was the speed limit there?
45.
And based on the reading that you received of 58, and you were monitoring a 45-mile-an-hour zone, what did you do next?
At that time, when I got the 58 and 45, when I got the 58 and 45, set my LiDAR device down. I maintained visual sight of the vehicle that I got the reading from. When Mr. Page approached my patrol vehicle, so when I exited the parking lot which I was sitting in.
Objection, I approached your vehicle.
All right. I think, can you just clarify when you say?
I never got out of my vehicle.
All right, well, let's let him clarify the answer.
Okay.
I took it to mean something
Sorry,
else,
Your
so
Honor.
no, you have a right to make an objection. Can you just have him clarify what he means by that?
Yes, Corporal Schillenberg, can you please clarify your last statement?
So I'm sitting on the west side of Telegraph Road, monitoring southbound traffic in a parking lot.
And that was the parking lot of Turbo Motors?
Yes.
12200 Telegraph?
Yes.
Okay.
So sitting stationary in that parking lot, when I got the reading of 58 and 45, Mr. Page was 694.6 feet away from my vehicle. So as he passed my vehicle in his automobile, that's when I exited the parking lot, pulled behind his vehicle, activated my emergency lights, and initiated a traffic stop on his vehicle.
All right. And that traffic stop was initiated in the parking lot down the road at 12510 South Telegraph?
Yes, that'd be the Enterprise.
What was it?
Enterprise?
Enterprise, okay.
And you maintained visual contact with the vehicle the entire time? All right. Did you at some point identify the driver of that 2020 Ford Fusion, silver in color?
I did.
All right. And just for purposes of the record, do you see that individual in the courtroom here today?
I did.
And describe what he's wearing.
Wearing a brown suit and black undershirt.
Your Honor, let the record reflect that he has identified the defendant, Zachary Ryan Page, seated at counsel table.
The record shall so reflect.
Based on your reading and your observations, Corporal Schillenberg, did you then issue a citation to the defendant?
All right, so while we were on the traffic stop, I asked Mr. Page for his identification numerous times, which he refused to do so. I refused to do so. At that time, Sergeant Kish made my location. Mr. Page eventually ended up providing his driver's license to Sergeant Kish. At that time, I was able to issue him a citation for the speeding 11:15 an hour.
All right, Mr. Page, you have some questions for the witness? You're free to step to the podium just so the court reporter can take everything down.
No questions for the witness.
Okay.
Surprise here. These sovereign citizens always talk tough until it's time to actually face the witness. Then they freeze. They can rant all day about fake laws, but when it's time to ask real questions, they've got nothing. And when they skip questioning the witness, the judge just accepts the other person's story as fact. No debate, no second chance, just guilty. It's like being accused of stealing a sandwich, and instead of denying it, you just shout, "I don't agree." Judges won't fight your battles. You have to do that yourself. I once saw one of these guys sit there smirking while the judge said, "Thanks for making it easy."
All right. Your excuse, Corporal Kish. Thank you.
People rested this time, Your Honor.
All right. Do you have anything you want to enter into the record?
I want to enter into the record that I'm here today making a special appearance under sue juris as one of the people of Michigan, not as a defendant under the jurisdiction of this court. I'm asserting my unalienable rights as secured by the Michigan Declaration of Rights under the United States Constitution, particularly under Article 1, Section 1, of the Michigan Constitution, which establishes all political power is inherent in the people. At that outset, I raise jurisdictional challenge to this court.
Your Honor, may I interrupt? And I apologize for interrupting, but Corporal Schillenberger is our traffic supervisor, and there's been an issue over the Taylor Police Department this morning. Technical difficulties.
He's free to go. Do you have any other questions for Corporal Schillenberg?
No.
All right, Corporal Schillenberg, you're excused.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead, sir.
This outset, I raise jurisdictional challenge to the court, as jurisdiction must be proven on the record before any further proceedings can lawfully continue. The separation of powers doctrine, as outlined in Article 3, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution and the Michigan Constitution, makes it clear that no branch of government may exercise the powers of another. Before proceeding, I require clarification on whether this court is operating in a judicial capacity or administrative. If this court is acting under administrative directives or executive branch policies, rather than operating as a constitutionally recognized judicial body, then it is exceeding its lawful authority. No administrative agency, including the SOS, possesses lawful authority to direct judicial rulings or override the people's due process rights. Any attempt to enforce such directives constitutes an unconstitutional exercise of power, rendering these proceedings null and void ab initio. Furthermore, jurisdiction cannot be established by assumption, presumption, or coercion. Due process demands that I am provided with clear, lawful authority establishing the legitimacy of this court's jurisdiction over me. An individual exercising my constitutionally protected right to travel. Without such proof, this court is proceeding without lawful authority, and any ruling is issued a legal nullity. I now formally demand that this court place on the record the specific constitutional authority establishing jurisdiction over me as one of the people of Michigan, the legal basis that allows this court to act under administrative directives or executive policies without violating the separation of powers doctrine can lawfully take place.
All right, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right, I heard testimony today from Corporal Billy Schillenberg. Corporal Schillenberg testified he is works the traffic bureau at the city of Taylor, and that he was in that capacity, working in that capacity on November 4th of 2024 at 1:35 p.m. approximately. He testified that this occurred within the city of Taylor, within the state of Michigan. He testified that he is trained and certified to use LiDAR devices, and that the device had been inspected. He explained how the device is placed at the hood of the vehicle, or aimed at the hood of the vehicle, and it determines the speed in feet from the LiDAR device. He testified that at the time, I can't recall the exact number, but he was approximately 600 feet away from the driver of the silver Ford Fusion, and that he was clocked at a speed of 58 in a 45-mile-hour zone. He testified as the vehicle came towards him and passed him, he put his device down and initiated a traffic stop. The stop ultimately occurred at 12510, which is on Telegraph Road, which is the business of Enterprise. Corporal Schillenberg also identified Mr. Page as the driver of the motor vehicle, and his license was ultimately produced, and he was issued a traffic citation. The standard for these hearings is not beyond a reasonable doubt, and there was no questions to Officer Schillenberg that offered any contradictory testimony to the testimony that was issued in this case. Therefore, Mr. Page, I find you responsible for the civil infraction of speeding 11 to 15 over, and that has a fine of $130. Mr. Page, do you need time to pay?
I do.
Okay. How much? Can you pay in 30 days?
I mean, yeah, if I got on a payment plan.
We've all had tough times, but this guy definitely looked like someone begging for a payment plan. That's what I can't figure out. Are these sovereign citizens really brainwashed, or just broke and trying to dodge their tickets? Most of them seem either completely out of touch or just desperate for a way to not pay. Why make a scene in court shouting about fake laws when you could just pay the fine and move on with your life? I once saw a guy argue about not consenting for so long that the judge looked ready to start a GoFundMe for him. So what do you think? Are they broke, confused, or just looking for attention? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I know this one's going to start a debate.